Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. It's your buddy Jasper. So you're here because you want to know how to access your Maven properties in your Spring Boot application. Well, you have come to the right place. That's exactly what I'm going to go through today. You ready to see the magic? Let's dive right in, shall we? So here I have already opened my IntelliJ. Well, you might be using different IDEs such as Eclipse or NetBeans, but disregards what IDE you use, the idea behind how to access Maven properties in your Spring Boot application remains the same. So the first thing we want to take a look is the pom xml. The reason being that is because we want to read the Maven properties, right? So we better see what property do we have right now. So let's head over to pom xml. And as you can see, it's a very simple pom, or bare bone pom if you like to call it that way. So here, like any other Spring Boot application, we define a group ID, artifact ID, version number, and the name of our application, plus the description of our application. And we also have one single custom property which defines the version of the Java that we use. And in terms of dependencies, we really just have a Spring Boot starter web and a Spring Boot Maven plugin which is used to package our Spring Boot application. So before we do anything fancy, if we want to, let's say, read the property name of our project, then by default, we can already do this. So let's go to application.properties and then let's define a new property. I'm just gonna call it app.name. Then we're gonna use the @ symbol followed by the single value tag, which is project.name. So we do project.name. Then use the @ symbol again. Then we may want to read the description of our application as well. So again, we're going to do @ symbol and we're going to do project. So this project represents the project tag. And we're going to do .description. And this description corresponds to the description tag over here. And we can do @ symbol again. And we may also want to know the version of our application. So we do project.version. And last but not least, we probably also want to know the version of the Java that's required to run our application. So by that, I mean we probably want to read this property out. And we're going to follow the same syntax, which is @ symbol, then java.version @ symbol again. So here we'll do java.version.add java.version. And if we build this, guess what? These properties should be replaced, right? But wait a second, the build is successful. As we can see, the target folder is already generated, but the properties remain in this way. It didn't get expanded or replaced by the actual value. Well, don't worry. We didn't do anything wrong. We actually did everything correctly. So what happens is, if you go to the classes folder, we have another application.properties, which is a copy of this. And if we open this up, you will see that the actual values are actually injected here. So what really happened is, upon build, Maven copies the application.properties from your resources folder and place it under the output directory under target classes. And before it pastes it over there, it tries to expand all these properties using values it reads from your pom xml. Then the final application.properties under the target will be the one that has the actual value of those properties that need to be expanded. So how did this happen, right? Why we don't have to do anything? Well, this is supported because we have a parent tag here and we are importing the Spring Boot starter parent pom, or someone call it BOM, bill of material. So if you go to this BOM or pom, and if you scroll up, you see here under build, we have two resources section. So what this really does is, the first resource section specifies the directory of the resources, which is source main resources. That's exactly this folder. And the second tag says filtering equals to true. So what this means is, whenever it says some property in this form, it will try to expand this property using values it raised from the pom xml. And after that, we have the includes. That means we only want to do property expansion for these resources. As you can see, application.properties is the third one. And so if we already have this, why do we need this? Well, sometimes you may not just have application.properties. You may also have other properties files. So for those, we don't want to expand any property inside them. Instead, we just want to copy them over to the target folder as is. So in order to achieve that, we have to again specify the directory of the resources. Then we're going to specify exclude, which means except for all these files, copy the rest. So the reason why we don't need to copy this again, because we already did this in the last step. And if you notice here, we don't have the filtering tag again. So by default, this is false. So when you don't include it over here, it means just copy whatever resources other than these as is, no property expansion. Then you may wonder, okay, so how does it know using @ symbol to surround some words that means this is a property to be expanded? Well, it's not controlled over here. Instead, it's controlled by another plugin called the Maven resources plugin. So if you scroll down, you will see here we have a section for Maven resources plugin, and here it has a configuration for custom delimiters. So here is defined to use this resource.delimiter, and if you search for this, you will see that it's actually set to the @ symbol, which is exactly what we are using here. So this is how Maven knows we need to do property expansions for this property, and the delimiter that we want to use is the @ symbol. Some of you may wonder, okay, so what does this use default delimiters do? Why is it set to false? Well, if you set this to true, any property, let's say custom.property, any property that's surrounded by $ curly bracket, it will be expanded. And because Spring uses this to do property placeholder and to avoid conflict or collision, the SpringBoot parent decides to disable this, which is always a good thing to do because we want to avoid collision, right? Now, some of you may wonder, okay, so what if I don't use the property file? I want to use YAML file. And as it can be seen up here, the YAML file is indeed accepted. However, for example, the symbol @ is a reserved keyword in YAML, so you want to change it to something else. So that's very easy to do. Again, let's go back to the plugin section and let's just copy this whole block, and then let's move to our own POM and come down to the plugin section and add another section for that Maven resources plugin. Here, when we paste it over here, we can delete this because we don't need to change the properties encoding. Instead, we want to inherit whatever that's already configured from the parent POM. So we can delete this, and for delimiter, we can set it to something like #, square bracket, then we're going to use the asterisk, then another square bracket. So whenever you do this, that means the opening or the beginning token has to be # followed by a square bracket, and the ending token has to be a square bracket. And you remember in the POM BOM, they use something like this, right? So the reason why it doesn't need to specify the asterisk is because using this way, it's a shorthand of this. That means the beginning token and ending token is exactly the same thing. So if we delete this line and we clean our target folder, and let's build the project again, and let's go to the target folder. And here you can see nothing gets expanded, right? Because we are still using the old @ symbol to tell Maven to expand property for us. However, we have already told Maven to use this delimiter instead. So we have to fix this. So let's head back to application.property and let's replace this with #, then square bracket, then #, square bracket, square bracket, square bracket, #, square bracket again. Let's fix this as well. And we delete this because we don't need it anymore. Let's clean our target folder and do a clean build. Now if we come to the classes folder, let's open this up. As you can see, again, our property gets expanded, right? So our customization to the delimiter indeed works. Now with the application.properties over here, you may wonder, good, we have the application.properties here. How can we use this? Well, this is just a standard properties file. So you can use it like any other standard properties file. So to demo that, I'm just gonna create a controller for a quick demo. I'm gonna call this health controller, and we're gonna return all these properties in a health endpoint. So when other consumers of our service hits the health endpoint, they immediately know what is the name of application, the description of it, what does it do, then the version of it, and of course, the required Java version to run this application if they ever want to check out the code and run our service locally. So let's create this health controller. And here, we'll annotate this class with REST controller annotation. Then we're gonna use the get mapping and define the API path. We will call it health. And we'll write a simple method, public object get health. So here, one way that we can use these application properties is using Spring's @value annotation. So using this, we can inject these values individually one by one. So we can do private string app name, and we can also write app.description, and here we'll do final map string, then we'll call this properties, then we'll do new hash map. Here we'll do properties.put app name, then app name, properties.put app description, then we'll return this map. So now let's run our application, and if we hit the localhost 8080, the health endpoint, as you can see, we get our properties out successfully, right? So this is one way. And another way, which is not so much tied to SpringBoot or Spring in general, is we can basically read the properties out through input string. So let's do final properties from the Java util package, then properties, new property. We'll use the default no-arg constructor. Then we'll do properties.load. And then we're gonna do health controller.class.get resource as a string. Then we'll write application.properties, and we need to write throw IO exception. Then let's run this application again, see what do we get this time. So let's refresh this page. As you can see, now we get all the properties that were there in the application.properties. So this is the second way. And the third way is you can use something called configuration properties, which is offered by SpringBoot, which is very easy to create a properties class. So this itself needs a separate session to go over. I'm not going to cover this here. Instead, I have already recorded a video and published it to this channel before. So you can check the linked videos up there, and it will show you everything about configuration properties. So just a recap on today's topic. Today, at first, I showed you how to do property expansion to rate Maven properties in your SpringBoot application without any customization or configuration. And second step, I showed you guys how this is achieved. And third step, I showed you guys how can we customize the delimiter that's used for property expansion. And the fourth step, I showed you guys how to use the application.properties. I mean, the one that contains the expanded properties, like any other properties files out there. So if you enjoyed this video so far, please give this video a like. That will motivate me to make more videos like this in the future. And also that will tell YouTube to recommend my channel to more and more people out there. If you have any question onto this topic, or you have anything particularly in your mind that you want me to make a video about, please leave me a comment in the comment section below, and I will definitely get back to you. So that's it for this time. I will see you guys next time. Bye for now.